Yes, my name is Mr. Lorraine, because apparently I sound like a man. So people come up to me, they're like, do you know you sound like a man? Why do you sound like a man? Like it's something I do deliberately. Like every day before I leave my house, I look in the mirror and I think, tonight, Matthew, I'm going out as Tracy Chapman. And I would have thought that my mom would have noticed that there was a glitch in the system when I was born. Can you imagine the delivery room? Everyone's quiet, they're waiting for the baby. And I come out, I'm like, mommy, get me a pint. She probably just wrapped me up and did a runner. But she tried to do right by me, my mom, because I'm originally from Zimbabwe. So in Zimbabwe, sometimes children get beautiful, meaningful names. But then unfortunately, sometimes these names get translated into English and they turn to shit. I'll give you an example. So someone whose name is supposed to be Hajine, the name becomes doesn't matter. Namo is hard life. Taurai is talk more. And you've got talk, you got no man, no woman, and no cry. And in that same spirit, my mother wanted to celebrate my voice. She wanted to give me a name that celebrates my voice. She wanted to call me Low Range. But they thought they misunderstood her, so I ended up with Lorraine, a slice of fucking quiche, and it means nothing to me. And you know, in this whole like Brexit climate, I think the UK has missed a chance to give children beautiful, meaningful names. We've got names like Brexit Jones, No Deal Rutherford, and someone destined for greatness would be fuck you, Boris Johnson. But I had to settle for quiche, ladies and gentlemen. So unfortunately, I find myself arguing a lot with people over the phone. They just don't believe I am who I say I am. That insurance company, the one that claims it offers cheap insurance to women, but if I call them, my voice suggests I'm a maniac on the roads, so they're not insuring me. And if I'm having a conversation of importance, then I just have to grow a pair because I get all sorts of abuse. They'll call me dude, they'll call me bloke, sir, mister, boy. Because I know if I argue with them from the get-go, they're gonna fuck up my nectar points. So I'm not having that happening. And then if I'm lucky enough to get to the registration stage, they ask for my name, I tell them it's Lorraine. And it's like, oh, how are you spelling that? And I was thinking, when has an episode, when has this conversation about freaking nectar points become an episode of like the countdown conundrum? Can I have a consonant please and a vowel? And by now I'm really pissed off. And when you're pissed off, the real you comes out. Yeah. So the African in me comes out. So I say, my name is Lorraine, I'll spell it. L-O. This lady was like, sorry, I don't get you. I was like, L for labia. O for honorable. R for realization. A for asshole. I for idiot. N for November. My name is Lorraine, you better get that right. And before people start feeling sorry for me and get like a GoFundMe campaign going, sometimes I just think, what, fuck it, I'll just behave like the man I'm accused of being. So I'm about to leave the house and my husband's asking me, oh, where are you going? I'm like, I'm going out. He's like, what time will you be back? When I return. He's like, Lorraine, how come you don't help around the house anymore? You don't help with the kids? I'm like, dude, are those children even mine? And I just walk out the house. And sometimes I'm like back within 30 minutes. It's like, oh, I thought you were gone for the night. I'm like, why did you tell me it's not easy being a black man out there? It's hard being a brother. I got frisked by the police. I got stopped and searched everything within 30 minutes. You know what I mean? It's not easy being a black man out there. So sometimes I just think, people who owe money, I don't have to pay them back on time. Because if you were calling me and you don't believe I am who I say I am, you don't deserve your money back. So my phone rang the other day and this lady was like, can I speak to Lorraine? I said, Lorraine speaking. And she's like, I'm looking for Miss Lorraine. It was quite clear to me that somebody who I probably owe money and somebody who doesn't know me. So I just said, Lorraine's not here, my name's Lawrence. I can take a message for Lorraine. And she says, this is the breast enlargement company, Tits R Us. Lorraine had an enlargement with us 2 years ago and she stopped paying her installments. And I was like, what you mean she had a breast enlargement? Are you telling me her tits ain't real? I've been married to that bitch for 2 years and those tits ain't real? Well, if you get hold of Lorraine before I do, tell her I said it's over. I just hung up the phone. If you want your money, show me some respect. That's how I roll. So I had a situation with the bank. This is a true story. So the bank had suspended my account because I'd called them the previous day and my voice sounded like fraud. So I thought, okay, let me sort this shit out. So I went into the bank with my ID documents, and if anyone's been in a UK bank lately, you know what I mean. These banks don't look like banks, they're like some holiday caravan park showroom or some shit like that. So the staff in there, they tell me that I'm not allowed to speak to them. Instead, they point to a phone in the corner. So now I have to call the bank while I'm in the fucking bank. I don't argue, I just go pick up that phone. And this guy on the other side, he asks me difficult questions. He asked for my name and my date of birth. And he tells me I got that wrong. I was like, okay. So I said, okay, so what can I do? I need to have my account working. And he says, sorry, you're gonna have to go into the bank with your ID. I said, can you repeat that? He says, you're gonna have to go into the bank with your ID. And I'm thinking, I'm already in a fucking bank, you banker. So now I'm told I can hand over my ID and the phone to one of the workers. So these two people start having a conversation about me. The guy on the other end must have said, is that really a woman? Because this guy was looking at me, corner of his eye, no order for lie. Yes, it's a woman. And the guy on the other end must have said, dude, are you really, really sure? Can you check? Because he was now staring at my tits for like 5 seconds longer. That was comfortable for me. And he says, yes, I'm sure. I left that bank embarrassed, humiliated, on the brink of tears, sat in my car not knowing what to do with myself. And then my phone rings. It was the fucking bank again. So this time it was somebody from customer services, apologetic about what had happened, that I was really sorry what happened should not have happened. And as a gesture of goodwill, we're going to credit £80 to your account. I said, you're giving me £80. Your workers, they made me feel like shit. They humiliated me. And you're giving me £80? And the lady was like, that's all we can do for now, but if you want, you can write to the bank. I said, no, I'm not writing to no bank. Just tell me one thing. Do other banks do this £80 thing? So I went and registered with Halifax, Lloyds, NatWest, Bank of England. So at the end of the month, we have conversations that require compensation. That's how I do it. And as an African, I think, I have to comment about Brexit because I'm tired of Brexit. We just need to move on from this fucking shit called Brexit. Because where I'm from in Africa, we know how to rig elections properly. It all happens overnight. There's no carry on 3 years later. And also, why are we going around asking people, do you want to leave? Do you want to remain? All that nonsense. And also the excuses that we got. People didn't know what they were voting for. People were misinformed. I mean, in my village, even dead people vote how they're supposed to vote. You know what I mean? That's how we do. And the question people should have been asked really should have been, do you want us to leave things the way they are? Or do you want things to remain the same? If they'd asked that question, they would have moved on, 3 years later would have known where we are, seriously. And what really tickles me is this, election, it happened live. We knew what was going. We knew how the votes were going as the nights, drew on. But why didn't you just shut down the broadcasting? Shut down the electricity, and in the morning, you just announce the result that you want. You're just like, yeah, people, I'm here to announce this Brexit, And we apologize for the breakdown in the broadcasting and the shutting down of electricity. It was a fault we weren't aware of. But our teams worked diligently overnight. They counted votes by candlelight. I'm sure you heard of the fires. Some fires fell on a few leave votes, but it didn't affect the general result, so we shall remain in the EU. That's how I should have done. And just to close off, this issue about my voice, sometimes I get people who are really sort of like vigilant, they want to save their company from fraud, etc. The other day I got asked, tell me something. How are you related to Lorraine? So I thought, how the fuck am I related to myself? How are you related to yourself? So I just thought, okay, Lorraine, she lives in my house. That bitch eats my food. She's sleeping with my husband. And sometimes late at night when I'm alone, Lorraine gives me the best orgasms. So I know Lorraine intimately. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I've been Mr. Lorraine. Thank you.
another act? Yeah. Well, let's put them around. Put up. And welcome to the stage, Stephen Trumbo!